Hello everybody, and welcome to Minecraft Event Analysis. Basically, it's a new series where I'm going to be going through, after I play a Minecraft event, talking about it, and maybe after I've seen one as well, whatever. Basically, I'm going to be going through my feedback that I leave at the end of an event, kind of talking through it, and kind of as a way to, basically, a lot of people don't leave feedback, and I understand why in some areas, but I think it'd be a good way to kind of talk about feedback, talk about the strengths of certain events, talk about the weaknesses of certain events, and basically just kind of review them as a whole. Obviously, everything said in this is subjective. I'm not going to outright tell you that this is fact, and I'm also not doing this to basically turn you all into, like, sheep and just be like, yeah, agree with me on every single thing I say. It's more so like a thought provoker, just to talk about the event, talk about what happened, and kind of the mind behind kind of feedback. I've probably played in the most events out of anybody in the community, so I feel like I'm a pretty good voice to kind of help push across, you know, what are some things you can kind of look out for here and there, and also in general just to kind of provoke more people to think about, you know, on the outside of how to leave feedback and things like that. Hopefully it'll be useful to you guys. Of course, feel free, and I invite you all to talk about everything I mentioned today in the comments and give your own thoughts, your feedback on various different things. The main goal is to just make it so we do have more feedback. Maybe, you know, you're an event organizer who's working on an event and you know, see some of the mentality kind of through here, and that might help you in your future or whatever. That's the kind of goal. I'm going to waffle a lot. I probably won't edit this much, but we'll just talk about the event. So today we're talking about Block Wars Rookies, Origins Rookies 2. This was on Saturday, and I was teamed with Swifties, Ruben, Lahu, and Wyan. It was a full new player team, and I actually had played in Block Wars recently. Normally, there's a big gap in me playing in Block Wars, but yeah, I played in the last one, and I played in this one as well, and it was a lot of fun. I basically always enjoy my time in events. It's hard to kind of remember a time when I haven't enjoyed my time in an event. Ooh, I should not drag down there. Oh well. But yeah, let's just go ahead and talk about the feedback. Basically, when I jump into any feedback, I kind of... Every event, if you guys don't know, has a feedback channel. And if they're newer events, I kind of encourage them to do so. Because feedback is really useful, especially other people being able to see it, because it can kind of invite people to kind of, in a sense, piggyback on it. But sometimes somebody might not be confident enough to bring up a point, and then somebody else can voice it. Let's say you think a certain game needs a certain aspect, but you don't know how to explain that. With feedback, if somebody else explained it, you can be like, wait, that's exactly what I meant to say. So it's good for that sense. It's also kind of bad in the sense that you could say something and then somebody can come along and be like, well, you're wrong, because I think you are. And that's the kind of thing I want to try and explain and help people understand. Basically, when you do leave feedback, it's not about like, oh, I didn't like this. It's about why, you know? It's trying to provoke that thinking of why is something like this? Why does it need changing? Rather than, oh, I don't like it, let's change it. I feel like that's a thing that people can very easily slip into. I've done that in the past. I mean, obviously, how long I've been doing this. But I think it's important that we kind of get used to kind of giving better feedback and trying to encourage more people to do so, because that's how events get better and better. I feel like there's a lot of times when people will say, oh, I didn't like this during the event, and then afterwards they won't give feedback on it. So to give you kind of eyesight into it, Block Wars Origins Rookies 2, I think there was about 4 people who left like big bits of feedback on every game, and I think 3 or 4 extra little bits of feedback, which when you think about 40 players, it's, you know, a bit of a shame, because it'd be nice to see more people kind of voice their opinion. I obviously understand some people aren't confident enough, so once again, hopefully this is kind of how we're going to get there. But yeah, to start off, like I always want my feedback, I just kind of said thank you for the team, it was a lot of fun, and I basically always put that I'm going to be really, like, you know, you want to be positive at the start of feedback. I always, you know, try and say it's constructive as well. I'm not here to kind of voice, I hate this thing, I hate that thing. So yeah, constructive is kind of the best way to do it. You got to try and make sure that when you do leave feedback, you're not, you know, being like, oh, this was bad, I hate this ruined this game. Which, I mean, I don't always, like, not sometimes I might accidentally word things a certain way. With a serious example, because I'm speaking, some things are going to be a matter of speech, you know, and I'll say something, but not, you know, not entirely mean that, maybe that word specifically. But yeah, so first of all, we had Tomb Titans this event. Tomb Titans is a fairly new game, but it's the newest game, and it's a game I've played once. I won't lie, when I first played it, like completely blind going in, I did think it was quite like bland per se. I just felt like there wasn't really kind of much going on. It felt quite basic. Oh, this is really bad footage down in the background, isn't it? Because there's so many disconnects. But you know, this event, I think I did enjoy it a decent bit more. I got to kind of explore it more, and I think I don't think there's really been much changes since I last played, but it was enjoyable. For this, I kind of put the main thing for me is kind of this room here. I got quite lost in general in this map. Because obviously you get this map in your hand, and it shows you, oh, there's, you know, a room to your left, room forward, room to your right. But because of the way the map is designed, it's kind of hard to get to those layers. The map's got a lot of verticality to it, so it means, obviously, a map's 2D, right? So you can't see that, so it can be a little confusing here and there. I also kind of said, the game says in the tutorial that there's lots of puzzles. Like, you can find puzzles with the, I think it's green candles. We didn't find any. And I think it'd be really cool if this event this game kind of went in that direction a bit more. We added a few more puzzles. That'd be interesting, because I think that's what it's lacking right now, is kind of that depth. Right now, it's just walking around, killing mobs, punching pots. And I feel like if you explain a game like that, you're not going to be enticed. And it's not, like, awful to play. I wouldn't say, like, I hate playing it. Like, I was able to enjoy playing it, but it feels like it's kind of half-baked in a sense. It's like, I feel like there's potential there, and I really hope that they could kind of jump on that. That's kind of the main thing I said. I also said we never encountered a trader. Obviously, in this game, you can trade your resources in early for less points so that you free up your inventory space. We never really encountered one. They were all kind of high up, really out the way, which is a bit of a shame. Another side thing, I didn't actually write this in feedback, but who mentioned something in the tutorial where it said, like, oh, the first 4 minutes, like, respawns are on or something, and then they disable. I don't know what that meant. Maybe Lahum read that wrong. I'm just kind of echoing what they said there, but if that did say that, that was a little confusing, because I did kind of leave my team at the beginning thinking that there was going to be a revive thing. I think my team also did get a little confused on kind of how to revive people and whatever, but we were able to have fun. And as a team, for a team of completely new players, we placed 7th, but the points were very, very close. So it really wasn't like, it was a good game for new players. I actually kind of played well with people who didn't have experience, which was a big surprise to me, because I really thought that this is definitely one of the more complex games of Blowers, and I was expecting it to kind of be rougher for new players. But speaking of rough for new players, after this, we move on to Order Up, which, this is an interesting one. So Order Up had its changes we're in Series 3 now, right? Where they kind of overhauled a lot of things, and I do think for the most part they did a lot of improvements. Order Up 1 is a game that I just really couldn't get behind. Every time my performance would just be rough, and I wouldn't understand why, and it just felt clunky, and it just felt like it felt there was too much going on, and there was no control. And I think this game, the new version of the game, does do a lot better at that. And in general, it is hard to comment, I feel like, on a game like this when you have a rough performance, because how can you kind of look at it differently? So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I would say, I think the one thing that I kind of noticed was with the Elytra section, like the delivering section, the arrow was a little confusing. Like when you're flying around, it's gonna take a while to actually get to a clip to it, so I don't know if I'm actually gonna be able to do that. But yeah, when you're flying around trying to deliver something, it's a little confusing. Yeah, kind of here. This arrow that appears on the screen, it updates kind of weird. And I don't know, maybe that was just a me thing, but I got a little confused with it. I also have one issue where items in the delivery weren't like going in properly. They were like splitting a little bit weird, which is, I don't know why that one happened, but yeah, that was definitely something I noticed as well. But other than that, there wasn't really much I could comment on Order Up. Like, I didn't hate it, and I still prefer it definitely to the older version. But it's hard to comment on. I think we just had a rough experience because it was just all new players. I think that I'll kind of mention it a little bit was, I think the game roster, it didn't really need to be in. I think we'll get onto it a little bit. Battle would have been a way better replacement, or for a different game. I'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, it wasn't awful. Like it was enjoyable, but I wonder why it was kind of in a rookies event, especially for main event, because obviously Blowers is very much guided by main event. So I'm surprised that good moment where Ruben does not deliver. My goat. Yeah, for main event, it feels kind of weird that it was in there. I wonder how it went performance-wise for a lot of new people, because it just feels so confusing and so convoluted for... It's not very accessible of a game, unless literally everybody's new. So that's an interesting one. After this, we got Race. So Race was actually a kind of a redone map. It was Kerbal map, which it's existed for quite a while, but they kind of redid a few different sections. But honestly, I think it was really refreshing, a lot of the changes they made. I didn't really sit there and think, oh wow, I've seen a lot of this before. But there was a lot of sections that like I remembered, oh, why'd I go to this bit? So I absolutely fumbled the hard path. And this isn't even like, I can't even complain about a designer. Like, that is just me sucking right there. But I did like how for the most part, it was, it was similar but different enough that it felt fine. And I think they made a lot of the skips easier, which I appreciated despite the fact I failed multiple of them. Yeah, it was an enjoyable map, and it was nice that it wasn't just the same as the last few, because it gave newer players a good chance, and it gave me a good chance as well. So I appreciate that. It's still just kind of a pretty bare bones race game. I'd appreciate if there was a bit more depth to it, but I think as of right now, it's in a fine place as long as it gets like a fairly good amount, a good stream of new maps sort of thing. I know Obi keeps cooking with maps, and the first map Obi did was by far the best race map they've done, so they're going to keep cooking with that one, hopefully. But yeah, it was enjoyable. I just suck at the hard pass specifically. And overall, the performance of race was pretty bad across the board, I'm pretty sure. I think Obi got first, and she was saying that like she messed up a lot. She did not deserve it. And I messed up a lot and got like 7th or 6th. I can't remember. But yeah, the next game is Extraction. This one's a bit of a heated topic. There's been some debates going on behind the scenes. So Extraction for this event, obviously, has got this map that returns with the heart up power-ups, because I don't think they were there last time. But more importantly, it has the auto crossbow from Photon. So you see here, I don't have to reload my crossbow. It just reloads on its own, and I can shoot again. I think this is a fantastic change. Mainly because it is so much more accessible to new players. Because the crossbow is a very, like, it's a new mechanic that new players would have to learn in what is Photon, like a small little party game. And it's quite a lot to kind of learn something like that, learn the timings for new players, so then, the time will run out by then. And I think the auto crossbow is really accessible for new players. It allows for new players to have a better chance, because, with a new player, if you shoot your crossbow and miss, you're not going to know kind of when to recharge a crossbow. You're going to, you might not even run behind cover. You're going to panic. You're not going to know what to do. You might try and recharge a crossbow, and then it might not have charged fully, and then you're going to have messed up. There's a lot of room for error, and overall, charging a crossbow feels quite clunky. And it also slows down the gameplay so much. It just kills the momentum. And I feel like the auto crossbow is really good for momentum for the game, and also for lower skill players, they have a way better chance. Because, you don't lose the moment that you shoot and then don't understand how to reload. I think it allows for way better plays as well, way better moments. The counter stuff I got was like, oh, you can run around willy-nilly and win. I disagree, because a lot of Extraction is still about placement, like where you are around the map, the angles you're holding. If I just ran into their spawn immediately, I'd get shot from so many different angles, because their team's going to be together, they're going to be expecting different things. I think it's also hard to judge with this map because of the amount of verticality. It's an interesting one. I didn't like the map, but I just think it was a little bit unclear kind of where to go. I don't know whether it's because of the colors or whatever, but I did appreciate the map. I did like the verticality, but it will be interesting to see how these crossbows play in the future. And I don't think they are going to keep them like this, which is a real shame. But I really, really hope they do, because seeing how this plays with the usual roster and with a different map would be really interesting. I did think that the stats of the top players were the same, if not lower than average, which to me says that lower players were doing better. Because obviously if like the highest score achieved isn't as high as a normal event, let's say it's 50 in a normal event and in here it's like 43, then that means those 7 kills, those 7 shots had to be distributed elsewhere among the players. And if the skill base is lower overall, that means it's distributed overall to lower players, even more than a normal event. So that to me says this is a really, really good change, and even the playing field's more for lower skill people. And I feel like it would be a really, really big miss if they just go back to normal crossbows again, because I think this is really great. And to establish that mechanic twice, so that, if you played Photon first, or if you play this first, you then have that experience for the other game. Because my team said after the game, they were like, wow, I now know how to play with this crossbow. I would really appreciate to go again. And I feel like this provides that, because I was like, well, you can play Photon afterwards and it uses the same crossbow. Consistency is really nice to have across an event, especially one that wants to come across really polished. So I think having the auto crossbow work the same, it makes complete sense. And I understand the arguments of people can just run and gun, but I really just don't think that's the case, because you will just get shot. You will just get rolled. I mean, you can see from the gameplay, I'm moving around, but anytime I'm kind of jumping, bouncing around, I'm getting shot for it. I'm getting punished for it. Here, that person's done by placement, rather than like, oh, I'm just running them down. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I enjoyed it. I think, and the main thing as well for me, I think with feedback a lot of the time, people can sit there and think, oh, well, this person says this about the feedback because they did better. I performed the exact same with or without this change. It really doesn't impact me much. I just think it plays better, and overall it's better for more players. So yeah, the other thing I said as well, once again, I love the heart pickup. I think it's such a good idea because previously having items there was like, meh. But now having that heart pickup there, it's so powerful, but if you don't go for it right and you mess up, you're going to get shot going for it, which is going to just invalidate it entirely. So, really, really, really good. I love that so much. Then we have the one I'm probably going to talk the most on today. Trailblazers. Trailblazers. Okay. So this game is one that I've always not liked the concept of. I've never played it, and I hadn't actually seen it play out. Actually, no, I did see it play out in a little bit. But I watched a video and all that, and I spoke to people about it, and I've always thought the concept of this game just didn't click. And I've always thought Move is better at what it does. And after playing it, I can say that is still the case. I can see why if you're a movement player, you can appreciate it. But I just don't see how this game in any way matches the highs of Move. Like, when it has so many downsides that Move doesn't have. I understand that the main points in this game's favor is that it allows you to go into a certain movement type that you're best at. For example, I do Trident basically this whole time because I'm good at Tridenting, so I got first in all the speed trials, whatever. But I would much rather sacrifice the potential of having Trident in for the sake of having a more cohesive game where I'm actually competing against people. The main issue with this game is the point and scoring is a little confusing because I can't just look at something and go, oh, this scores more than that. Because you've got two different types of courses, first of all. You've got the trial courses, and you've got the, I don't know what the other ones are called, like just the normal courses where they have difficulties and you just complete them. I don't know, first of all, if each type of mechanic scores the same points. Like, does an expert dropper level score the same as a expert parkour level? I don't know. And I also don't know relatively how much, like, me getting gold in a speed run correlates to, you know, an expert in a normal course. The same applies to kind of any distribution of that. There's no way for me to know how that works. You know, does the speed run times from Trident carry over to boating as well? I genuinely don't know. The way the scoring works, because of how the game's structured, is really convoluted, and the only way to really know fully is to research the game a ton and spend hours working it out. And I think that's really rough because, especially as a viewer, I'm curious what you guys think, but it must be really hard to follow this event. Because it's like, what is going on? Like, that you can't root, like, in Move, you've got a course that everybody's playing, so you can root against a certain, like, let's say somebody's racing in front of your viewer, your player, you'd be like, oh, who's going to win it? You got that sort of competition. You also got the first team completion bonus, which is a big competition as well. And once you complete your course, you can support your teammate. In this game, you don't really get any of that. The closest you get to that is the competing speedrun times, which not everybody even does anyway, and they're not really that contested, at least in this event. So I really don't see the appeal. They're also just, I appreciate the goal levels that they had in Trailblazers. I don't think they were there originally. They do add direction, which is nice, but they're also just not clear enough when they do come out. Our team missed them because we just didn't know when they appeared, and it's just, yeah, it was a bit rough. I do understand why it exists, but I just don't think the positives outweigh the negatives. Like comparing this game to Move, and I don't understand, especially in rookies, why Trailblazers is in. And finally, the thing about Trailblazers is the upkeep is so unrealistic, and I'm really curious, like, how much of this stuff, I mean, you guys know more than me, because you're viewing, how much of this was new? Because I doubt much, if any of it at all, was new, and I can't blame them for that, because it's what, like, it's an insane amount of content, right? It's like 4 Trident courses, 4 boat courses, I don't even know how, it's a ton of content, a ton of maps. So I kind of begin to imagine how much of this is the same, and I can't blame them for that, but it's an inherent flaw of the way the game works. It's impossible to upkeep compared to Move, where you can cycle in and out whole mechanics, and you can cycle in and out whole maps. It just feels like Trailblazers is just, the way I put in my feedback was, it feels like it is a deconstructed Move. It feels like you took Move and you just like pulled it apart, and now that's the game. And to me, like, if you showed somebody Move and Trailblazers and asked them to say which one is the new version of the game, I feel like the majority of people would say Move, because it seems more cohesive. It seems like it's an improvement over Trailblazers as an event format, especially for a casual event, which is, once again, what Blood Wars is going for. But I'll stop waffling about Trailblazers. We'll go to the next game. Next game we got is Blitz Hunt. So Blitz Hunt is a pretty simple one. There's not a ton to say about Blitz Hunt. It's casual. That was tragic. It's enjoyable. I just wish some rooms were better. For example, this room right here is atrocious. There's really just not many hiding spots. And I would really like to see more rooms, because I feel like there's a lot of recycling ones, and I don't even play that often. So it'd be nice to see those. I did say that I think a W idea is to do a Blitz room community like competition where people can make their own Blitz Hunt maps and submit them, and then some of them will make it into the event. I think the same thing could be done for Trailblazers, and I think that is an easy way for the community to be involved in the event, and also for the workload to be way less. I don't know why they've not done it yet. I think it might have been talked about at one point. I don't know. But I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think it's just like, it's there for the taking. I really, really hope they do it, because I feel like it's a no-brainer, right? Other than that, there's really not much else to say on this game. You know, it is how it is. It's enjoyable. It fits Block Wars being casual, which is the main goal. So it fits the event pretty well. And anybody can do well. Anybody can enjoy it. But it can also be aggravating. It's just one of those things. Next up, we have Overspleef, which we don't have a ton to speak about that's different towards the last event. The main difference, in fact, the only difference, I think, is the removal of the Meteor Spleef round 3, which is such a W. I put this in my feedback last time. No, I wouldn't really intend on bringing this back up, but it's relevant here. The third round of Spleef that was in the last Block Wars event, it really felt like they made a third round of Spleef that was different for the sake of being different. You can see that quite often at events where they'll hear feedback of like, oh, we want something to be a bit more refreshing. So then they'll change something for the sake of changing it rather than because it was a good change. And I think it's a real shame when that kind of happens at events, because in Spleef's case especially, it's really, really easy to kind of slip up by overcomplicating Spleef and then kind of messing with the game. And I think round 3, that Meteor Spleef was just really convoluted, and it didn't really just connect very well at all. And I think going back to 2 rounds of normal Spleef and 1 round of TNT Spleef fits way more. Spleef is different enough, as every round of Spleef is different. Everybody has a chance of winning. Everybody has a chance of doing well. And it's a good way where you interact with the other teams. It doesn't need a third round, at least like that. I can understand wanting a third round that's a little different, but I just don't think that was it. So hopefully they're going to keep it like it is for now until they kind of come up with a better third round. I don't know if they are or not. I had a feeling they're not. They're just going to go back to the Meteor Spleef, but fingers crossed not. Spleef's just peak game, and people are going to, it's quite easy to jump on bias for that. But I think Spleef encompasses so many great things for a game. It's open to anybody to win. It's not sweaty. You can have fun with it. You can have clips with it. It ticks all the boxes. You can work as a team. You can have beef with people. There's not a single thing that Spleef doesn't tick as a box in an event. Apart from, I guess, originality. That's fair. It's great. We love Spleef. And both Spleef as well, of course. That is the unique part, and that also plays fantastically well as well. Great game. Love Spleef. And then finally we have Party. This one was interesting. I love Party. It's probably my second favorite game in the event. So wait, did I do my feedback in the wrong order? Oh, I did. So yeah, first of all, Heist. This was rough. The issue with Heist was the main bit of feedback that I brought up, and I saw a few other people bring it, was that the map was really unclear, and unfortunately that wasn't really addressed for this event. The map needs to be so much clearer. It feels really hard to get to the exits, and especially if you're colorblind, which one of my teammates was, it is even harder. And another big issue with the game is you can't find the staircases. I spent half this game trying to find the staircase. If you were watching, you would have seen. It's painful. It shouldn't be that hard to find the staircases. It shouldn't be me trying to... Because the thing is, the map isn't different, so if you watched a lot, you can just learn the path. So it's just unnecessary for it to be that way. So I'm really hoping that they add more navigation. Something like a map in your offhand would be great. Or just, navigation on the floor with arrows. That sort of thing. And also... make the green carpet on the floor have arrows in it as well that are designed a certain way so the colorblind people can see out. Either that or have a colorblind resource pack, one of the two. Yeah, it's kind of its play to say on Heist. Can't really comment on much other than that it was kind of struggling because of the lack of navigation. I think that would go leaps and bounds in making Heist a much better, stronger game. But yeah, it's about it on Heist. Then we go to Drop Down. Drop Down changes were great. I think having it so you respawn the glass, that was the change, right? I swear. Oh, was it? I can't remember. I think there's a good change that they did. I think they made the layers longer or something. Maybe it was using checkpoint on the glass. Not 100% sure. But yeah, it was great. They slightly reduced the damage reduction, which was a really good idea. I really appreciate that. And it's a silly game. Everybody can understand how to play. My team was able to do well without experience, which is what you want. It was just really enjoyable. And you also have a little bit of trolling there, which can be annoying. But the other thing I'd say about this game is the glass down there, the little glass platforms. It's a little too easy to fall through and not get the checkpoint. They should just make it so you instantly get the checkpoint if you fall through the glass layer, because that really rolled me. And it's hard to see. There's a lot of colors going on. It's hard to see where there's glass and where there isn't. But yeah. Then we move on to a cheeky bit of Photon. Photon is an interesting one. My voice is hurting from waffling. The spawning was better this time because there wasn't any OP kind of spots. But there was a lot of downtime where I couldn't find people, but that's kind of how the cookie crumbles sometimes. There's not much else to say on Photon other than a new map will be nice. Can't really say anything else other than that, really. It was enjoyable. I just wish I kind of encountered more people, but that could just be unlucky. Is how it is. But yeah, new map would be appreciated for that. That's kind of it. And once again, having the crossbows like that is really great for being compatible with Extraction and, you know, getting that experience from one game or the other. Finally, game-wise, we got Splat. Splat is one of my favorite games, but the last couple of times I've played it, it's struggled a little bit. The main issue is, for some reason, they messed with the projectiles. I'm not sure what they did, but the projectiles feel delayed and less powerful, and I really hope they kind of revert that. It takes about 6 shots to kill someone, and the physics of the snowballs, maybe just shoot less, feel really janky. I was breaking my... Yeah, like, look at that. I was breaking my wrist so many times playing this game. I still love it, but there was also a bit of lag kind of issues with the squid form, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, other than that, it's a great game. It's just a lot of fun. It summarizes Party. I just really hope they can kind of adjust those snowball things. So yeah, that's kind of it as far as main feedback goes. The last 2 kind of points that I brought up were balancing. Overall, the event wasn't incredibly balanced, which for rookies, I wasn't expecting our team to be balanced, but I think the scores for everybody else were quite rough. There's a difference of like 4k points from 1st to 7th, disregarding our team because our team was impossible to balance. That's a bit of a shame. I would have liked to have seen the scores be a little bit more balanced. I can't really get them up here, but there you go. You see them in chat there. Yeah, I mean, it's 14.5k to 10.8k. It's a lot of difference, so fingers crossed can kind of iron out a little bit for the future. And then the last thing, game roster. I kind of touched on this earlier. Blood Quads, I think, struggles with this game roster, mainly because of the lack of PvP/player interaction. Especially in this event, because no battle. I do not understand why they took battle out. I understand the argument of bad players will get rolled. But I think that can be really easy mitigated by making battle streamlined kit-wise. Make everybody have the same kit, for example. And giving the captain, which is the system they use in the main event, a bare bones kit. Give them a super simple, like, a kit that's worse than everybody else's kit so that they can't just roll and one-man army everything. They have to be the team player. You solve a lot of issues there, and Blood Wars desperately needs PvP in general. If it's not battle, it needs something else. The first half of games in this event had no player interaction whatsoever, which is a real shame. You need that in an event. It's the main thing you want in a game in an event. You can have the occasional one, sure, that, you know, doesn't. But the main thing you want in an event is player interaction. It's why it's an event. So it's a real shame to kind of see the lack of that. Main issue with the roster for this event is having the trio of Order Up, Tomb Titans, and Trailblazers in together. They're all the most complex Blood Wars games by far, and they are the hardest to grasp for a new player. It didn't make sense to have them all. I don't know why Battle wasn't in place of them, especially because Battle was, like, robbed out of last rookies. I understand the concerns about skill, but there's ways you can rectify that and still include PvP, especially because PvP fighting players is, like, one of the few things that anybody who jumps into playing this event will know. Everybody knows how to punch people. Everybody knows not to die and to kill people. Like, it's a simple concept to grasp. And it's also really easy to invest in. A player will be so much more invested into a player fighting another player in an event than they are people cooking in a kitchen. It just kind of is how it is. So hopefully we get more PvP. I'm really hoping that the next Blood Wars game is heavily on player interaction, but we'll see. With that being said, I've waffled on for enough. I don't know how good this was, but I'll probably upload it anyway, because it's second channel anyway. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, talk about whatever I've said today in the description, what your thoughts on it, any ideas of how I can kind of streamline this, make this sort of series better. I do intend to do PB, not today because I've hurt my voice, but yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.